Hey there, welcome to Live Happily Ever Now. I am your host, Carrie Briggs. If you found this podcast, that is no accident. It means that you're ready to feel good, heal your life, and manifest the life of your dreams. I can't wait. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Live Happily Ever Now. I am your host, Carrie Briggs. Today we have another beautiful special guest, and I'm so excited she is here. I have been watching her on her awakening and on her spiritual journey, and she was a fellow Vermonter who now lives in the middle of the desert. So I'm very excited to welcome Valerie. So Valerie, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Sure. My name is Valerie Coulter, and I am a shaman. I have a business called Soul Healing, and what I do is I work with people on regulating their emotions and becoming emotionally stable. Because most people in this world right now don't know how to handle conflict, and that is a big part of my journey was discovering how to have a voice but not be the only voice. Um, so I teach people how to calm down their nervous system, how to deal with anger and shame and guilt and fear, and feel more secure in who they are as a person. And along the way, I help them discover their actual path.
I love all of that so much. That's very similar to what I do. I help people regulate their nervous system, and it's one of the biggest parts of one of the pillars of my business is nervous system regulation. And I strongly believe that every single human being should be taught these skills, especially as children, because nobody teaches them. Nobody tells us that, having emotions is a normal, healthy thing, that anger is a normal emotion, that fear is a normal emotion, that frustration are all normal emotions. And we as humans, because we're stuck in these human bodies, like at the end of the day, yes, we're soul beings, but we're stuck in these human bodies. And if we don't know how to understand and regulate how we move in these bodies, we're not going to be able to reach the level of enlightenment that we are all seeking. We're seeking that peace. We're seeking that guidance. So I love all of that. I'm so excited you are here. I love the shamanistic journey. Shamanism is something that I have been deeply involved in. I don't talk about it as much, but in my own path, that is something I work very deeply with and work deeply on. So I love that. So I would love to know how it all started for you. We've all, as spiritual beings, we usually have like that breaking point or that point in our life that says, this is when I woke up. I've talked about mine a couple times on my podcast episode, and it's when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I'd love to hear your awakening story and how you stumbled into this beautiful healing journey.
So my journey, like a lot of healers, actually started when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it was with the loss of my magic, the
Mm-hmm.
loss of um, everything that I found beautiful in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a point in time where I stopped believing, and I'm not sure exactly when that was, but there's a place in the woods in North Bennington that like I used to walk to all the time, and I cannot find it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopeful that this summer I'll be able to finally find it again. But so it started with the loss of that. And then I grew up and felt defeated over and over and over again. Um, but my magic and my spiritual awakening happened after my foster daughter was removed from my home. It was a reunification. We knew it was a reunification the whole time, but it was a moment of complete powerlessness for me to have her removed after 2.5 years of raising her and watching what being in foster care, being a foster parent who deeply believed in reunification, that all children deserve to be with their biological parents, and also feeling the weight of that decision of she deserves to be with her family, and also I'm going to suffer this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a deeply lonely journey, and I don't even think that my husband understood how lonely I was and what I was going through. because after she went home, my husband and I were at the brink of divorce, and we have been together since we were 13.
Hmm.
He is my person. He is, he has walked this journey with me. He has definitely earned his place next to me. But it came with a lot of blows and a lot of hard work. And it came with a lot of understanding of who I was to him, who I was to me, who I was to our kids. And honestly, I had written myself letters, suicide letters, like, I'm leaving this earth and this is what I'm letting go of. And then getting in the bathtub and putting my head all the way under the water and cleansing myself and asking, Archangel Michael to cleanse me with the violet flame over and over and over again. I don't know how many letters I've written saying goodbye to past versions of myself.
Hmm.
But the first one after my foster daughter left, I was 100% sure I was actually going to die. Like,
Hmm.
I was like, I can't believe I'm putting my head under the water, that I'm going to do this, that I'm taking this leap and letting it all go and letting her walk away with her family and her path and letting me actually release this.
That is so powerful. And it just shows how all of our paths are so different. And, you know, there's so many things coming up. There's so many messages coming through right now.
Yeah.
And I love all you're saying. And the things that I'm picking out right now is like, I love that you're a foster mother. I know that because you adopted, you have a beautiful daughter, another beautiful daughter now. So I love that path. And we can talk about that in a minute. But it's so interesting how as as very spiritual beings now, we were very intuitive and very spiritual as children. That's something that I was as well. I was, I saw spirits, I talked to spirits, I knew things I shouldn't have known when I was a child. And then it was like, it was beaten out of me physically, emotionally, spiritually, because it wasn't acceptable. So it took me until I was pregnant with my daughter to become reawakened again. But it's those low points, those trauma points of, you had your daughter taken away from you, you had your foster daughter taken away from you, and it was like this emptiness, this I can't, like, this, the energy that always comes up for me when everybody explains it is like, this cannot be it. Like, I did not come here to experience this level of pain unless there is something underneath it. And when you're talking, that's what it's showing to me is like, oh, you had that, like, I can't do this anymore. Something has to go. And the saying goodbye to your past self, I remember countless times on my knees being like, I cannot do this anymore. I had completely given up on everything in my life. I had given up as a mother. I had given up as a wife, everything, because I could not do it anymore. And that's when, like, those spiritual, like, it's almost like this force is holding you. It's like, no, like, yes, you're letting go, but that's what has to happen. You have to have that breaking point so you can understand how deeply you are loved, how deeply you are supported by something that has nothing to do with the 3D world. So I'm loving all of this. Did you want to continue? Because I like rudely interrupted you.
No, it's fine. Um, yeah, so then I kept feeling called to buy a school bus and move my family out of Vermont. There was so much going on. I was in the middle of another foster case, and she ended up being my daughter. I ended up adopting her. But in the middle of that foster case, there was another foster case going on. And I just kept looking at all of this injustice over and over and over again and going, what am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? And for right now, that looks like me stepping away and helping my daughter heal from her journey through the foster care system. She has a lot of emotional trauma, and we didn't think she would ever talk, but she does. She says full sentences now and stuff. But um, it's through mastering my emotion, and she's been one of my biggest teachers. Having a nonverbal child who is traumatized and has attachment issues, and really cannot understand why she can't be with her parents and be with who she wants to be with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been so humbling, and she's been my biggest teacher, seeing her pain expressed through such anger over and over and over again, and having to learn to not react to anger has taught me such invaluable skills. So,
It's yeah, that I actually recorded a podcast a couple weeks ago and I did another one, and she's a spiritual parenting coach, and we were talking about how, our children are our biggest healers, 1000%. It doesn't matter if they're biological, or adopted or whatever it is in the case. Children are our biggest teachers because they show you and they mirror to you all of the things that you have not healed within yourself. So for me, especially, and I'm sure it's very similar to you too, the watching my children, because I have a son, he was nonverbal for 3 years, and he is the most empathetic and intuitive child. He did not go through trauma in this lifetime, but definitely in past lifetimes, it's been there. So I've been watching through him this anger, this frustration, the non-communication, the like, what, like, so I had to teach myself how to regulate and downregulate my nervous system, because I was stuck in fight or flight most of my life because of an intense narcissistic abusive trauma from my own life. So using those skills for myself, I was able to help my son, and now it's in like this beautiful cohesive relationship with this. It's like this. It's a huge circle. And so I do firmly believe that children are our biggest teachers when it comes to healing and spirituality and all of this. And every single child is, I mean, all of my children are different. They all have different aspects, but it's been really interesting to watch how every single one of my children has helped me heal deeper. So I'm sure that's very similar to you, not even just with your foster daughter, well, your adopted daughter now, but your biological children as well.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all of my children have brought me lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm now at a place where for a long time, I tried to fight their lessons for them
Mm-hmm.
and tried to step in and, use my power to help them in the world. And now, through my youngest daughter, being able to, detach from her story and detach from everybody else's story, I can listen to what's going on in their life now and really feel safe and secure with who they are and what I have taught them and how they're going to show up in the world and how they're going to like learn their lessons without me overstepping anymore. And it's been such a blessing to not feel so connected in the I have to fix, I have to fix, I have to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That beautiful martyr energy.
yes, yes.
It's crazy, and I swear, like, parenting is like and we were talking about this on the episode we just did, how being spiritual is hard, having an awakening is hard, healing is hard, raising children is hard, having a business is hard, but when you combine all three, it's like this recipe of what the actual am I doing?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I need to heal this. But also you have these little people who need you. And then you have to show them that they don't actually need you. Like they can do their own thing. But you have that like human society saying, oh, you have to do all these things to be a good mother. So it's this huge like chaos. They're trying to like a tornado right now. So so what you're saying is so beautiful, because that's like, I have those, I call them like little winning moments, like parenting win, and my daughter's like, no, or my son who has like the anger issues, he walks away and he's like, mommy, I need to do Reiki on myself, or I need to just like take a moment, or I'll watch him doing, nervous system regulation techniques or like somatic exercises to help calm his body down. Or my son who comes home from school with like a panic attack, and he takes himself out of the situation. And it's so beautiful watching these things, like watching this next generation have these tools that we weren't allowed to, or we weren't allowed to have, but they weren't accessible to us to regulate ourselves. So I'm loving all of this, and I'm loving this conversation and how that's helping your children as well.
Yeah. My 9-year-old Gwen, she is the most spiritual out of all of my kids. She has clung to this, um, like she's clung to these past versions of herself. She remembers like where she's been before and who she was before. And she oftentimes will get really frustrated. She has a lot of pent up anger and stuff because she's also my most joyful child.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you have a child that's just full of joy, full of all of this, they forget to release the things that do bother them. And so sometimes she'll get really, really mad. And then she'll look at me and she's like, I'm going outside. I'm going to scream. Like, okay,
Yes.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
great idea. Like, thank you for recognizing your energy. And like, she also has ADHD. So we've been working on energy
Mm-hmm.
her entire life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what energy are you bringing into the room right now? Is
Mm-hmm.
it big energy? Do you need to be in a different room? Like, these questions are constantly going on in my home. And so all of my kids are learning energy control at such a young age. And I wish I had somebody that had taught me that.
It like I was talking to there's one of the teachers at school, and she's doing a lot of this work for herself, and she's bringing it into the preschool classroom. I'm like, and she's not even allowed to teach it. I'm like, why is this something? This drives me crazy. I'm like, why is this something that they are not allowing them to teach to children? This is like a basic human need that everybody needs. Again, we have a whole generation of children who are like, all of my kids have ADHD. I had undiagnosed ADHD. So for me, like if I had these tools when I was a child, I would not have the struggle. I would have not had the struggles that I had growing up, because I would have been able to learn to be like, oh, this is happening, let's do this. And the same thing with emotions. But I mean, that was the path we walked on. We cannot change it.
Mhm.
All we can do is do the best that we can for this next generation. But the anger thing, I love, I love that she's like, that's how my second son is too, like super happy, beautiful child. And then the anger, because he doesn't know how to express it. So he like holds it all in, and then it's explosive. And that's been something we've been working on in our household, is like, anger is a normal emotion. Anger is something that has been demonized. It has been said that, especially for females, it's not acceptable to be angry. It's not acceptable to be upset or frustrated or all these things, and that's a whole other conversation. So as you know, my job as a parent and my job as a human, I wasn't allowed to have emotions because I was raised by a narcissistic, abusive mother. So I wasn't allowed to have anger. I wasn't allowed to have sadness. That wasn't acceptable because it took away from her. So for me, I had to learn that it was acceptable to be angry, that it was acceptable to move my anger in beautiful ways. And the same thing with sadness and crying. So I am very adamant about, when I'm angry, I will verbally express to my children, be like, mommy is really feeling a lot of anger right now. I'm going to go move it out of my body. And now, by doing that for years now, because this has been 10 years of this journey for me, my children are now on doing this thing. Okay, I have a lot of anger right now, mommy. I need to go move it out of my body. And that right there, I'm like, if the world was taught these things, we would not have such messed up human beings in the world. And it's just like,
Exactly.
it blows my mind.
People don't understand how to have opposing ideas
Mm-hmm.
and be able to still communicate with each other in a respectful and healthy way. Like,
Yes. Uh-huh.
I spend a lot of time at the homeless resource center, and I don't necessarily agree with most of the views that come out of people's mouths in that center, but I am
Mm-hmm.
there happily helping, you know, one day a week and having full conversations, and then being able to be like, well, what if we looked at it this way instead?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to change people's minds just a little bit by letting them vent their story, and then having them come to their own realization that other people have different perspectives, has it's life changing. Like, you can see people literally glow different as soon as they pick up your idea and transform it and go, oh, actually, maybe I don't feel that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's that this is like one of the huge parts of what I do, is like holding people so that they can heal themselves. And that's exactly what you're explaining. You're doing is like, you're seeing them, you're not even validating them. You're giving them space. You're giving them a safe space to open up, share their emotions, share their feelings without any judgment attached to it. And then at the same time, you're like, it also opens them up because, oh, this person is a safe person. I can talk to her. She's not going to get mad at me about my opinion. She's not going to come at me with all this force. And then I am now open to receive her information. So it's like, I love energy exchanges like that. And that's something, again, we are not taught as in this world that, especially in the United States, is not like we are set up for failure when it comes to this. Again, whole other conversation. But that holding people and validating them is one of the most powerful things you can do. And it's not even validating them, it's just allowing them to have their voice heard in a beautiful way. And then that relationship can grow and open up. And when you were talking, one of the things that comes, I say all the time is, you can hate me, but I still love you. And it's like,
Mm.
we all get all of these beautiful emotions. We can all have different opinions, but it has no, like, it does not affect, you know, the elections happened yesterday, like all this, not whatever's happening, all this stuff. And like, you can have all your opinions. That does not shift who I see you as a person. And you can hate me all I want for the things that you want to hate me for, but I still love you because I can see your energy. I can see your soul. I can see these things. And what you do and say has no effect on me. So it's like that beautiful, they always, it's like, it's not a barrier, but it's this like acceptance, this openness of I can take it. Like, the amount of shit that gets thrown at me on a daily basis, I can take it, and I'm only going to throw love back at you. So in all of these different situations. So beautiful. Love, love, love. So many things are coming
Yeah,
through
I
today.
was seeing a prism as you were talking.
Mhm. There's a lot of, I'm dealing with actually a prism dragon. She's been in my world for the past 3 days. So like
Mhm.
very deeply. It's actually the fact that you bring that up. I'm like, ooh, validation that she is here.
Yeah, yeah. And like talking about dragons, that's
Mhm.
like one of the hardest things that I've found to talk about with anybody. That's why I'm always sending you messages like, I got a new dragon. I opened something.
And it's so funny. And we can totally go down that road because, you know, dragons are one of those things that I was connected to dragons when I was little. But again, all of my stuff, all of my spirituality, all of my magic was shut down when I was a child. It wasn't acceptable. And then dragons came back into my world 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I was like, not really feeling why you're coming in right now. Like, and here's the thing about dragons, as I'm sure you know, that there is no like escaping dragon medicine. When the dragons come to you, you will listen because they will get in
Mhm.
your face until they're like, are you listening now? So my journey has been wild because it was kind of, I don't want to say it was thrown at me, but it was like I dipped a toe in and they're like, oh no, there's no dipping the toe in. There's like, you're full on like diving off the cliff into a giant cavernous energy of dragons. And I started teaching and now I teach Element Dragon Fire Reiki and I work with them very, very deeply. And then last year they're like, oh, you're gonna go live and talk about us. I said, absolutely not, because people are gonna think I'm crazy. And they were like, well, you're gonna do it anyway. And I had, no followers on Instagram. It was a very small, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll just fucking do it. Who cares? I'll talk about dragons. People are gonna come laugh at me. What, I'm stable in my own, like, I know the things. That video now has 280,000 views on it. And
Mhm.
it was like the first time the dragon, I mean, not the first time, but they're like, are you going to listen to us now? Like,
Yeah.
we've proven to you over and over and over again how much you are a channel for this medicine and that you are needed on this path. And I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. And it's so interesting because they come in at the most, I mean, I've always had dragons around me. I have a giant dragon tattoo on my hip. They are like the most powerful energies that I have ever worked with. And
Mhm.
being in the presence of a dragon is the first time in my entire life that I felt unconditional love, because it was this deep holding, it was this deep support. And dragons have no fear. There is no such thing as fear in the energy of dragons. Like, it just does not exist. The word does not exist. So becoming a dragon, which, we're all dragons. We all have that potential within us, has been the most intense journey because they forced me to show up as a dragon, to say
Mhm.
that I work with dragons, to say that I channel dragons. And it has not only brought me, I mean, you're going to get haters no matter what. There's so many non-believers out there who are threatened by truth that they just come at you. But the other half is like, oh my God, you talk about dragons too? You work with dragons too? So it's been this huge community that has been woken up. And again, that's the witch wounding. Anything spiritual and you're afraid to talk about it is the witch wound. And that's something that, I mean, we were literally as witches burned at the stake for being powerful healers, for knowing things. So, and again, like I back in like in my Akashic records, I was burned at the stake. My family is from there. So we've had like again, the persecution wound, the visibility wound, all of this ties back to this fear of being seen, the fear of holding power, the fear of knowing things. And then everybody comes at us. So they just like, I love my channel, just like, and we're done with that conversation.
Yeah. And like the dragons, they are some of my favorite energies. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have this fear of flying on airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
And like every time I board one, they're like, "Why are you scared? You're a dragon."
Mm-hmm.
Like they're so blunt. And like when I would close my eyes like on the airplane because we're having turbulence, they're like, "You think we would let you fall?"
Uh-huh.
Like maybe a little, but just for fun. Like,
Just
they're
fun.
just like, get used to it. Like, you need to fly. You have places you need to go in this life, and you don't get to not take airplanes just because you're nervous you're going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And it's so funny. I love what you said. Like they're fun, and that's the thing that a lot of people like find so interesting when they start working with dragons is they love games. They are the most like they will do things to it's like little tiny inconveniences, but they're like to make you laugh. They'll do
mhm,
things to, and but they're also so blunt. So for me, I have my entire life I've been scared to death of like an irrational fear of snakes. I've never understood it. There's not been one time in my life that that I should have this irrational fear. Somewhere down the line, somebody died from a snake attack in my family. So this serpent energy and the snake energy been coming in full force. So like you work with dragons. Dragons are snakes. Like you do realize that, right? Like this is the conversation they're telling me. And the other day, and it was actually last week, they're like, the reason you are afraid of snakes is because you're afraid of your own power. So own your fucking shit, Carrie. Like get over this fear of snakes. And for the past like 2 weeks in meditations, they have been encasing me in snakes to get it over. They're like, you have to, and the same thing you said, like, you have to do things and there you're gonna come across snakes in your life. Like you can't just turn into a white little bitch and like fall asleep and pass out every time you see a snake if you want to start healing people on a deeper level. So it's like, and that's how they talk to me. They're so blunt. They're like, it's I love your post this morning with the tarot cards and the oracle cards because that's essentially that first of all I pulled cards like that this morning and then that's how my
mhm.
dragons are. It's like I love angels. I love my guides. I love all that. And they have this like this sweetness and softness to them and dragons are like what the fuck? Like are you going to do the thing? And that's like the best example that I have for I mean I picked up my dragon stone. I didn't even mean to. My
Yeah.
Septarian, which I didn't know was a um so yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, so I love working with the dragons. But my biggest teacher, other than my daughter, has been Loki.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been working with him like continuously since my journey started. And now it's more of a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But when we first started, like, I couldn't open doors sometimes. Like, I would just literally try to open a door and it would be not locked, but not able to open. And like, just learning to have patience with silly things like the door not opening or like my phone disappearing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
literally had it in my hand and it would just vanish. Like, didn't even remember putting it down. And eventually I learned to be like, Loki, give it back. And
Mm-hmm.
like,
Uh-huh.
it was returned. But there have been a lot of moments where like he has taught me it's okay to be out of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be chaotic. It's okay to um like enjoy the chaos of this world and what's happening. And like it doesn't have to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning from him, though very annoying at times.
Uh-huh. It's yeah. They I've worked with Loki and like a side piece, not a side piece, that sounds really bad, like on the outskirts, but never on like a very deep level. But so I work my guide, my biggest one is Kali Ma. She is my true mother. She is the one that I work with on the deepest level, and she is deeply misunderstood. Just like any goddesses, like, yes, she's a goddess of death and destruction, but she's also one of the most powerful goddesses of compassion for what she did. So it's the same thing. Like, you know, she's been my stepping stone, and she creates she burns stuff down on like a level dragons can't even do. But at the same time, she does it with the most loving way. And there are times where I'll be like, Holly, like, we can do this, but it doesn't have to be so intense. And so like we've created that beautiful, the way that you're explaining how your relationship with Loki is, that's how mine is with Kali. It's like we are so close and we have this understanding, but like we don't actually have to be like that intense. Like you can, you know, my phone can just die. It doesn't have to like be completely smashed. Like we can find a happy medium between full destruction and like minor inconvenience destruction. And like I love guides, and I love how everybody has specific relationships with different ones. Because I have like one of my friends, she works deeply with Hecate, whatever, whoever says it the other way. Whatever. Anyway, and it's so funny because she's like, I will not work with Kali, and I'm like, Hecate has never called to me. Just like Loki, he's been in my world, but it's not something that I've worked with. I've worked with him on a very deep level, and he says, oh, soon. So there we go. It's coming. It's so beautiful, and I love these conversations. So
Yeah.
To kind of like wrap this up, is there something or a message that you feel is coming through to share with everybody? Words of wisdom, so to speak.
I'm just hearing, you know, the journey is worth it. It's hard, and you can make it easier on yourself by just surrendering, like just letting what's going to happen and learning to enjoy the ride.
That's exactly it. That's something that my mentor and I say all the time, is like, you don't get on the roller coaster to get off at the end. You get on the roller coaster to enjoy the ride. And that's what this life is. We came here to enjoy this. So learning to enjoy it, and it doesn't have to be that bad. So I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And is there a way for everybody to can find you? Do you have any specific offers you want to talk about right now? Or do you just want to drop links? And we'll send out, everybody will get your links. Don't worry. Everybody can have contact with her, but is there something you wanted to pop in here? And if not, that's 100% okay.
Sure. You can find me on Facebook and online on a website at Soul Healing with Valerie Coulter. I am looking for people who really want honest truth and to find their path and purpose, much like you do, Carrie. And I am pretty gentle, but I also am very blunt and will definitely help you find your direction and your purpose. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to walk people to their doors.
It's so beautiful. Oh, I love that. And yes, we need all of these beautiful healers, and this is coming through very strongly, is and it's not just because you're here, it's so beautiful. There is this big energy in the collective right now of competition, and I'm here to break down that whole story. Like we as healers are meant to be healers together to help each other rise. So in this, like, there are not enough healers on this planet for the amount of people who need healing. So thank you for being here. We are in this energy of collaboration, not competition. And thank you.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I love you so much. I'm so glad you were able to be on here. I am so glad we were able to have this conversation. This has been incredible, and I've loved watching your journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Thank you.
all of my beautiful listeners, thank you so much. I will see you next week on Live Happily Ever Now. Bye.
Bye.
If you made it to the end of this episode, that means you are truly committed to your goals and open to miracles. I am so proud of you. If you want to get more Carrie, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Your experience means a lot to me, so I welcome you to leave an honest review. And you can follow me on social media at Carrie Briggs Coaching. If you really want to get in on the action, sign up for my monthly membership, Unlock Yourself, or reach out for more powerful one-on-one work. I love you all so much. See you next time.